Yo, what's up guys? Today I want to talk about one of the most fun sorcerer builds for endgame in Diablo 4 Season 10, and it's a pure Crackling Energy Lightning build. Now, I've already made a leveling version of this that takes you from 1 to 60 and into the early torments, and this endgame version of the build works all the way up to Torment 4 with no Mythics. What you're seeing here is no Mythics in T4, just melting everything. Everything on screen just goes down in seconds, and the best thing is you don't have to aim anywhere. Crackling Energy, the way it works is it just flies off in every direction and everything around you just melts. This works in Infernal Hordes, it works in pit runs, it works on tier 4 bosses. It's really strong. And not only does this build have tons of damage, you are almost immortal. Thanks to the Season 10 Sorcerer Power Mana Shield, you lose 99% of your HP, but gain 400% extra mana, and damage goes to mana instead. So you have this giant like 15k to 20k pool of mana that regens super fast that enemies just can't break through. You are going to just be taking on high level pits, tier 4 bosses, and your health bar your mana bar just doesn't move, so you're completely fine. Okay, so let's get into the skill tree. And this is a full Crackling Energy build. So what you're going to see here is we have an amulet, which we'll go through when we get to the gear, called Esodora's Overflowing Cameo. And now what that does is for every single skill we have, every point we have in a shock skill, we gain 10% more Crackling Energy damage. So you're going to see lots of the times we're 5 out of 5 in items or abilities that we're not even using, and that's because 5 out of 5 in that is 50% more damage. So just be aware of that before we get into it. Like you're probably wondering why we have so many points in a basic skill, for example, and a lot of it comes from gear because we get it everywhere we can. So first you want a 5 out of 5 spark. Again, that's 50% damage just straight away. Then we want to get enhanced and we want to get glinting. There's a reason we take an extra point there, and that's because we do use our basic from time to time for a big mana regen. You'll see that in the Season 10 powers. Then we have charged bolts. We 5 out of 5 that. There's more coming from gear. You don't put anything in there and you never cast this. This just sits on your bar as a 50% damage increase. I've got it at 10 out of 5, so right now it's 100% damage increase. Next section, we 5 out of 5 teleport. We get enhanced, and then we get mystery. Teleport deals increased damage. It also forms Crackling Energy up to 3, which is great. We take 3 points in Glass Cannon for a damage increase, and we take 3 points into Energy Focus for a barrier. Now what you see here is we have no shields. We don't have Flame Shield, we don't have Ice Armor, so we don't generate our own shields. So this is just a little way to get a shield without having to cast it. And we don't need one of these, by the way. We are so tanky with the Mage Armor, the Season 10 ability, that we just don't need any of this. Okay, so next section, we 5 out of 5 Lightning Spear. We do cast this one from time to time, so we take Enhanced, and then we take Invoked. And that lets us use Lightning Spear to stun enemies, and we can do a lot of extra damage once we've stunned them. We 3 out of 3 Precision Magic for Lucky Hit. We come down into here, we 3 out of 3 Inner Flames for 18% increased damage while enemies are at full health. We 5 out of 5 Ball Lightning. This is our main ability, it's what we cast. We don't do it for the damage, we do it for this thing down here. Wizard's Ball Lightning. Casting Ball Lightning forms 2 Crackling Energies. Now, when you have the attack speed we have, like when you've got this build and it's working well, you'll be throwing so many of these out that your Crackling Energy is just full all the time. Then you want to take 3 points into Static Discharge. When you when you Lucky Hit, critical strikes from shock skills have a chance to form a Crackling Energy. 3 out of 3 Shocking Impact. Every time you stun an enemy, you can deal damage. And again, we're stunning enemies with all of our abilities and our Lightning Spear. You can put 1 point into here to gain mana. You can come down into the bottom section. You want a 5 out of 5 unstable currents. What this does is when you use this, every time you use an ability, you cast another ability. And because all of our stuff's 5 out of 5, that's quite a good amount of damage. You want to take Prime, so you get 25% attack speed, and you want to take Supreme, so you pulse Crackling Energy, which is amazing. You want a 3 out of 3 Conduction. Crit strikes increase your movement speed, and then you want a 3 out of 3 Convulsions, 30% increased damage while you have Crackling Energy, and then you pick up all of the Crackling Energy nearby without having to run over it. You want to take 3 out of 3 Elemental Synergy. Your Frost, Shock, and Pyro skills deal 3% increased damage for each skill you have equipped of their type, and we have a full hotbar of lightning abilities. We have no other abilities. This bonus is doubled if they're all the same element. So again, that's doubled, so that's a huge amount of damage. And then we go for Evocation, a 12% cooldown reduction. Finally, we take Overflowing Energy, 85% increased lightning damage. Crackling Energy hits an additional enemy, and each time it hits an enemy, your shock skill cooldowns are reduced. Basically, your ultimate's coming back really, really fast. Your teleport's coming back really, really, really fast. Just a nice one to have. that's pretty much everything, and I don't think I'd change anything. There is some world where you would use ice, the ice summon for Vuln, and there's some idea where you could use Familiar, but I tried them both, and I think this works the best so far. But yeah, that's the build. All right, enchantments. What we do here is we go for these two. We go for Lightning Spear. You can see it if you hover over it. If you hover this one, Lightning Spear. Enchantment effect, absorbing Crackling Energy has a 13% chance to conjure a Lightning Spear. We've got points in Lightning Spear. Lightning Spear stuns our enemies, and we pick up a Crackling Energy every second. So that is a very, very, very high chance to be throwing out Lightning Spears and stunning enemies, which is fantastic. Then we go for Ball Lightning, and Ball Lightning has this effect. When you lucky hit, crit strikes have a 33% chance to spawn a static Ball Lightning. This is just, again, it's 5 out of 5 already. It's a good chunk of damage, and we lucky hit quite a lot with our build. So I think that works the best. I've tried Teleport, I've tried Spark, I've tried quite a few things here, and this seems to be the best setup so far and what I would recommend. Okay, now let's go over the aspects and the gear. So I'll pull up the build guide. Okay, so the build guide is going to have everything you need. I'll link it down below. It's finished now. And here's the gear. So on the gear, I'll go into edit mode so you can see things a little clearer. Okay, so on the amulet, you want to have Esodora's Overflowing Cameo. This is, every shock skill you have equipped. So for every level in shock skill you have equipped, you deal 10% more damage with Crackling Energy. This is why we have so many, skills with extra stats in than we would expect. So this is incredible, and it's something you should try and get ASAP. The next thing that is going to be priority is aspect of the charged flash. Now there's something in here about charged bolts. I'd ignore that. What you want to look at is the first bit. Crackling Energy deals 60% increased damage. Now with this on a two-hander, that's increased. So this is going to be like up to 120%. So really, really big damage increase. Now, one piece of advice with these two is if you are lucky enough to get Esodora's Overflowing Cameo anywhere but an amulet, so if you get it, the chaos items where they can drop anywhere, if you can get it on a helmet or a legs or anywhere but here, you want to drop Abundant Energy into the amulet slot, because this has Crackling Energy has a % chance to deal 40% increased damage to an additional enemy. It's really nice if you can have this on an amulet, because then you get 50% bonus on that. But that's just a little tiny thing. I've wrote it down here. Nice thing if you can do it. Doesn't matter if not. Okay, the other things we want in terms of uniques, we want the Galvantic Azurite. Lightning damage leaves enemies magnetized for 4 seconds, causing them to emit Crackling Energy, increasing all lightning damage they take. And then the Raiment of the Infinite. After using Teleport, close enemies are pulled to you and stunned, which is really, really, really nice. So they're the uniques. I'd say this one is priority. You can do without the other two, but once you have all three, it feels better. Abundant Energy we've talked about. Aspect of Overwhelming Currents. Unstable Currents has a 45% chance to cast an additional shock skill, is incredible. We have the stable aspect as well. Unstable Currents is not active. Your shock skills have a chance to trigger a free cast. Really, really good. The Wild Boar aspect, every 3 seconds. Every 2 to 3 seconds, distant enemies are pulled in and take increased damage. And then finally, we have Aspect of Audacity. When they release 5 close enemies, stun them. Now, the reason we use stun is because that's just the thing for lightning. It's the thing that all our abilities play off of. So if you have, say, if you're playing a fire build, you have burning. If you're playing an ice build, you have frozen. We have stun. So it's really good to take that where we can get it, and we do more damage to things that are stunned. Now, what you can do here is if you want to use a one-hander, you can take this here and you can use this here, Ukun's Catalyst, and what this does is the Ball Lightning spins around you. I tried that playstyle for a while and it's really fun. So the Ball Lightning spins around you and you can cast Ball Lightning while moving. This does make the build feel a little bit faster, but I feel like you lose a little bit of damage. So you can try that playstyle if you want, one-hander and that unique. I personally like just going two-hander to get the biggest, amount from the charged flask, because you get 200% bonus if it's on a two-hander, but just an idea. Okay, now on the gear stats themselves. So here's what I would be looking for. Now we get increased. So on let me just go through this first so you can see why we're doing it. On our mana shield, this is our big season 10 power. We have this thing here, look, you gain 400% increased max mana, and our mana is basically our health pool. Each point of intelligence increases your max mana by 1. So we kind of want to get as much intelligence as we can. So wherever you see intelligence, it's worth getting as a, if there's nothing else mentioned, go for intelligence, right? So just assume intelligence in every single slot is a good play. Then we want to get ranks to every single skill. Like we said, a rank in a skill is 10% Crackling Energy damage, and that scales with everything else. So ranks to Lightning Spear, ranks to Chain Lightning, ranks to anything, ranks to ball lightning, basic skills, wherever you can get it, get a ranks to right? Attack speed is amazing. The more attack speed, the more crackling energy we're getting out. Really, really useful. And then when it comes to tempering and masterworking and stuff, crackling energy. Anywhere you can get crackling energy, you need to get it. Crackling energy is our main source of damage. Get it on every single item you can get it, which already comes on the amulet. Get it on your rings, get it on your gloves, get it on your two-hander. And then you want to try and hit that with the masterworking. It scales really well when you hit it, so try and get the biggest roll on that as possible. On the weapon, you can also get chance of crackling energy to hit up to 3 additional targets. You can get lucky hit, chance to stun, which is pretty good. You can get increased barrier generation, which works a tiny little bit with our passive that we have. But generally, crackling energy is the big thing we're looking for there. But that's pretty much it on the gear. Like I said, this does everything without being super min-max, best gear, no mythics. If you can take this further, you can go really far with this. Okay, now the season 10 powers, the chaos perks. Number 1, the main thing here, the unique chaos perk is Mana Shield. 99% reduce max life, but any damage you take goes to your mana instead. So if you've played, other ARPGs, you're going to be familiar with this. There's a very popular one that is well known. But what we do, we've got 17 life here. We've got 35 and it's halved from something else, but we've got virtually no life. 1 hit on our life and we're gone. But if you look at the mana, I've got 15,000 mana. And this can obviously go higher. And you've got here, mana regen is increased by 5,000% if you've not taken damage. You gain 400% increased max mana. So this mana pool is massive. So the enemy hits you. First, it has to get through your barrier. Then it has to get through your resistances. And you can see with this build, our resistances are all capped at 85%. So first it's got to get through your resistances and your barrier and your damage reduction. Then it hits a 15 to 20,000 large mana pool, which is wild. That mana pool is constantly regenerating. So I've been playing this for a while and you just don't go down. You just take all the hits. And worst case scenario, if you see the mana getting a bit low, you just teleport out. 2 seconds later, it's going back up to full. So this feels incredible. I would definitely go with this on most sorcerer builds. It feels really, really good. Now combined with this, we can take this. We can take Marred Guard. You no longer could be healed above 50% life, which all we're losing here is 17 life, which is great. With that, we gain 10% max to all resistances, which is why you see we have 85% max resistances rather than 75, which is amazing. 20% armor, 100% increased barrier regen. Overall, we're just a little tank. It's really, really good. Now we can take, because we don't need potions, there's no point with potions because we have no life, we can take Crazy Brew. You see how this is all coming together. Healing Potion is infused with the power of chaos, giving you a 100% resource cost reduction, so our spells don't cost mana, 80% increased attack speed, and 80% increased movement speed. Need to get away, use a potion. Need to pump tons of damage, use a potion. And then your potion goes on a 15-second cooldown, which doesn't bother us because we don't have any health. And then finally, I would go for Accelerating. So damaging an enemy has a 10% chance to hit a Chaos Burst. Your Chaotic Burst that hit an enemy reduce your cooldowns. That is the setup I've gone with. You see, I've tried a few here, but this is played incredible. These 3 are locked in, golden, would never replace them. Potentially, let me know if you have any other ideas on this one. Maybe there's something a little better. I've been using this. It's been working pretty well, but this one, I'm open to ideas. These 3 are just phenomenal combined together on this build. Okay, Paragon Board. So here we go. Let's go full screen on the Paragon Board. So first board, we go obviously down both sides, get these 2 clusters. We go into the middle and we go for Unleash. Boost the magic nodes in range, which is damage to elites, non-physical damage. And then we get, after spending 50 mana, you gain 8% increased damage and 25% mana regen for 3 seconds. Now mana regen is mana regen, but mana regen is also our health regen. So this is really good to get in early. And there's no need to take the extra stuff around because, this glyph doesn't do it. So you just want to hit the 40 intelligence cap and move on. On the second board, we want to go to Ceaseless Conduit. Now you can go straight to here and drop in the Electrocute. Boost the rare nodes in range, which are Crackling Energy damage, the most important thing in the game for us, and then lightning damage, which scales the same. And again, there's no need to hit any sort of quota here, so we just want to get 25 dex. Lightning damage has a 15% chance to crit strike enemies who are stunned. We have lots of ways to stun. Flip it around, we want to grab this cluster of crit and lightning damage. Hit the Ceaseless Conduit. While you have Crackling Energy charges, your skills deal increased damage. To 60%. When you reach full charges, damage is increased by 3 times. Really, really good. come out here, get some more resistances. With your Paragon board and your gear, like with your Paragon board and the things we do with our aspects and stuff, and you like the choices we take, you will have your resistances capped. You don't need to take like lightning resistance, fire. You don't need to take any of that on your gear. So that's really good. Coming into here, you got the damage reduction. Straight into here, we get another set of resistances. This is on the static surge board. Wrap it up to here, and we have the static surge node. Hitting enemies at least 8 times in a second with shock skills. It gives 30 mana regen and increases your damage by 50%. Up to here, we go for the Tactician. Now, Tactician boosts the rare nodes in range, which are crit strike damage and lightning damage. And then again with this one, this is we don't get anything from the extra nodes, so we can just move on. But you get 15% increased damage for 4 seconds after casting a defensive skill. The duration is increased by 4 seconds for each defensive skill not on your action bar. The only defensive skill we use is Teleport. Teleport is a defensive skill, even though it's not like an armor, it's classed as a defensive tag. Then we can move up, we can grab this cluster damage to stunned enemies and resource reduction, and we can come up to the Enchantment Master node. Grab this, your enchantments are 30% stronger, and each equipped enchantment gains 40% increased damage with their element, and 20% for the second if it's the same element, which it is, so that's just damage. More resistances, which is fantastic, more damage reduction, more resistances, attack speed, and then we hit this node here. This node is charged every 5 intelligence. Within ranged, Crackling Energy deals increased damage. Picking up Crackling Energy grants you increased damage up to 15%. And we get every single intelligence thing we can get. You know, grab these as well. Every single one we can get. 110 intelligence that works out to be. That is a massive, massive damage boost. It's one of the best places to dump a lot of your points. And then we want to come out the right side. You got more damage reduction, fundamental release. We grab the fundamental release node. You've got more resistances again, damage reduction, fundamental release. Every time you apply vulnerable, burning, or crit strike an enemy, they take increased damage up to 50%. Your ultimate skill damage is increased, which isn't that important. Then we want to come along and we drop in the destruction. Every 5 dex purchase, you deal increased crit strike damage. Crit strikes increase all damage the enemy takes from you, and then we have the stuff around it. That's how I would set this board up. So the 5 boards. You can zoom out and you can see the board of the thing if that's all you want to see. But yeah, that's how I do it, and that's pretty much that's the build. That's everything there is to it. I could make a mythic version of this, but it's probably just going to be using 2 mythics, probably the Starless Skies and the item that gives +4 to all skills is probably what I would recommend, but I haven't got any yet in game. I've had very bad luck so far. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The leveling version is just tagged here, by the way. If you want to see the leveling version, you just click this, and there's the link to the leveling build. It's on the same site. But yeah, that's it. Thank you. Any questions down below, let me know. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.